Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hi everyone. Today I'm going to show you how you can create a Google web app and fetch the data from the Google Sheet and show it into your web app. So I'll be starting it from the scratch. You just have to create a new Google Sheet and you can rename the sheet to whatever name you want, and then you will have to go to the extensions and go to the app script. The first thing which I'll do is I'll change it to Google Web App, or whatever name you want, you can change it to that. And the second thing which you have to do is you have to change this function name to doGet. You have to use exact same spellings with the capital G in order for the web app to work. So in order to deploy this script as a web app, this function must have to be written, otherwise your web app will not work. So the next thing which I'll do is that I'll use an HTML service. It's a class, and then I'll use create HTML create template from a file, and then I'll give a file name. Now what basically I'm saying on this line is that go into this file and get the HTML from there, but the problem is that this file doesn't exist right now, as you can see in the file section. So I'll create a new file by clicking on the plus button and then clicking on HTML, and for now I'll just say h1 and let me say Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be unto you. And now I'll go back to the code once again, and now we have created the file. Let me store this into a variable with the name template. Okay, and the next thing which I'll do is that I'll simply return this template, but first I have to evaluate that as well. And if you want, you can add some other options, like I can put the title like dynamic web app. The title is what you see here in your browser tab. So for this web app, we are saying dynamic web app. You can use whatever you want. There are some other options. I won't go into details on all those options because that would make the video too long. So for now I'll just save it, and that's it. Now it's time to deploy the web app. So for that I'll click on deploy button, and for the first time you will have to create a new deployment. In future you can just use the same deployment by you can manage the deployments by going on to this option. So let me just go to the new deployment. From here you have to click gear icon and then click on web app. You can give any description you want. Let me say v1, and then again I won't go into details on this one. You might need to change it to anyone with the Google account, but for now I'll just quickly change it to anyone and go to the deploy. Click on the deploy, and it have given me a URL, which is actually a URL to my web app, so I can share it with anyone to come to my web app. So obviously this web app is not so exciting and not much useful, so obviously I won't be sharing with anyone. But coming back, how we can make it dynamic and we can link with the Google web app. So there are different ways, but I will go with the one which is coming in my mind right now, which is to store the data into the template so that we can use that data into the HTML directly. The way we can do is that we have to fetch. First thing which we'll have to do is to fetch the data from the Google Sheet. So just to make things easier, for now I'll just fetch the data of single cell. So let me say it, let's say testing web app. So I have a spreadsheet which have this ID, which have a particular sheet with the name sheet 1, and in its cell A1 I have the data test web app. Now I will be using the Google app script. I'll be targeting or fetching the data from this particular cell. So the way I can do is that let me define a variable, and let's say data, and I'll say spreadsheet app, which is a class which is used. This is an inbuilt class within the app script, which will help you to get access to your spreadsheets. So the first thing which I'll do is that because this is the container bound sheet, container bound script, which means this script have access to this Google sheet. So what I can do is that I can say .get active spreadsheet. So because it's container bound, it knows that I'm referring to this particular sheet, which is right now active spreadsheet. So the next thing which I can do is that get sheet by name. So I'm saying go to this active spreadsheet, and within that spreadsheet go to the sheet 1. So I'll write the name of the sheet, which is sheet 1, and then I'll tell the range where in the sheet 1 I want to go, because I want to go into A1. So now I'll give the range. I'll say .get range, and I'll say A1. And now what it did was it just moved the cursor to this position. Now I want to get the data from there, so I'll say .get active spreadsheet. I made a small mistake. Here it should be get sheet by name. So coming back once again, here I have to use the get value, and this will fetch the value from that particular cell. Now what I will do is that I'll have to, because I want to use this data into my HTML, I'll have to somehow store it into the template so that I can use it into the HTML. So what I'll do is that I'll use the way you can access it into the template is just to consider the template variable as an object. And in this object, if you define any other key value pair, it will be available in the index. So I'll say template, let me say let's say data, and in that I'll just put the data, which is this one. So you can rename it or say it any, let's say you can say it cell, for example, and in that cell you are just storing the data. So I'll just save it, and now if I go back into my HTML, and let me remove, or let me just keep that, let me add a new one, let's say P, and here now there is a syntax which if you use, you can access that particular variable which you stored into the template, which is cell. So in order to access the cell variable, what I'll do is that I'll use this syntax, which is less than sign with the question mark and equals followed by that. And again, you in order to close that, you have to use a question mark with a greater than sign. And in between that, I just have to write the word cell, and it will basically show the data which we fetch from the Google Sheet. So now if I go here and if I refresh it, you won't be seeing the changes. So let me refresh it just to show you. The reason you are unable to see the changes is because this is the first version which we deployed, but after that we also made more changes into that. So you can think it like a production app. So and it's linked with the first version. It doesn't know what are the changes you made after that. In order to see the live changes, you have to go to the development version. For that, you will have to go to the deploy and click on test deployment. And here it will show you a URL which will show you the live code. I mean the code which is in the which is right now in your editor, but it's showing me an authorization is required to perform that action. So basically I'm using a spreadsheet service, so I have to authorize in order to access that data. So what I'll do is that I'll just click on run one time, and I'll review the permissions. I'll click on my email address and then click on advanced and click on go untitled project and then click on allow. Right now it's saying untitled project. It's a bug in the Google Web App. Sometimes it doesn't update that. But anyhow, I have now authorized the script. Now if I go back to the app and if I refresh it, you see this is the previous one, and this testing web app is coming from the Google Sheet. Now if I change it to let's say Google Sheets demo, and now if I go back to the app and if I refresh it, you will see it have updated the web app. So this is the way you can link the Google spreadsheet with your web app. In case if you want to know more about it, just leave the comment on the video and I'll respond back to you. Thank you so much. Bye bye.